Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight again. This is our Facebook Live event. I'm so glad to be joined by my fellow health coach, Kate. Hello, Kate. How are you doing tonight?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So we have a topic tonight. We're going to get into it. I have to say, Kate, I kind of think this topic was tailor-made for us.
I think it was.
All right, we'll say more about that. If you're just joining us now, let me turn my computer volume down. Please post a comment so that we know that you are here. And we're going to look at our various devices here so that we can read the comments. All right, so tonight, what are we, in fact, talking about? We're talking about high-calorie temptations. You know what I'm talking about. I know Kate knows what I'm talking about. But you also know what I'm talking about. You're innocently walking your way through your life, not doing anything crazy, and then suddenly it's there. It's a tempting food. It's calling your name. It's got more calories than you can even imagine, and it finds you. The thing that's interesting about high-calorie foods, first of all, they're obviously everywhere, but they can sneak up on you without you knowing. Or they can literally just overwhelm you and bowl you over. So we are keeping it real tonight with this conversation by just acknowledging that this happens. This is purely a function of the food environment in which we live. High-calorie foods, again, are everywhere. The environment is out of control. So once we feel that we have made the case, but only with your help, we need your help tonight, that this environment is out of control, then we're going to move past that and talk about what are some strategies that can help you to better manage your calories in this out of control calorie environment. So that's sort of the two parts to our whole discussion here. What have you noticed where it's out of control, and what do you do that you have found helpful to help you combat all of the temptations that are literally thrown at you? It's like a minefield. So let me just stop for just 1 second, Kate, and just see. I'm hoping you're seeing some posts of people joining us.
Yes.
Tell me.
We have a lot of folks joining us. It's wonderful. We have Sharon. We have Iris. Some of our regulars. We have Bob, Jennifer,
Great.
Sherry, Nancy, Susan. Lots of folks chiming in to hear about this topic.
Love it. That's great. So we are, again, talking about, need everyone out there to help us. What have you seen as you've been walking through life that just shows that the food environment is like a minefield of calorie explosions, and all you have to do is not pay attention for just a minute. Next thing you know, you're swimming in the calories, and that's not what you intended to do. So that's the first part. And then again, start thinking now, for those of you who are already watching, what are things that work for you, that help you to be full, satisfied, that you know are actually calorie wins? Because that, we really need to end on that note, Kate, so that people can maybe get some ideas about what they can take on this next week. If nothing else, weight loss and successful weight management is an ongoing process of discovery, and you need to have lots of different ideas to pull from, and you need to then practice the discipline of trying on new things. So that's really what we want to do. We want to end with a lot of positive strategy. Okay, has anyone else joined us here? I'm still looking to see if I have the feed. I'm looking on that.
Yeah. Dana, we have Sue, we have Mary, Sandy has joined us, Sharon, lots of folks tonight, which is just wonderful.
Great, lot of familiar names. I love it.
Yeah.
So, Kate, can we just take the kid gloves off here for a minute? We're talking about the fact that the United States, America, the Western culture today is out of control from a food temptation perspective. Just off the top of your head, we're going to peel this like an onion, but just what are your first thoughts when you think about today's food environment as it relates to the task of managing your calories and weighing what you want to?
Brutal, outrageous, out of control, atrocious.
Yep.
I even had an experience just last week. I was driving to drop something off at a friend's house who had moved, and I used Waze to find her home. and I'm driving, and I keep getting pop-ups on my app. Reroute to McDonald's, reroute to Dunkin' Donuts. I'm just trying to stay on my route to her home.
Gosh.
And just felt like I'm being bombarded in my car, which is just crazy.
The irony of it, right? Like probably the last thing that you want to be doing is going to McDonald's or being encouraged to go to whatever, Wendy's, and yet you have technology, sort of sending you these messages. Oh my God, that's incredible! What a story. My sort of right off the top of my mind sort of view on this is, if I stop paying attention, it's as simple as that. If I stop being aware, I'm going to eat more calories than I want to. And if I did that over any even short period of time, I'm going to gain weight. So that's basically my sort of assessment of the environment. You got to be constantly vigilant. And that really is one of our main points here, which is, I think in previous Facebook Lives, we've talked about the fact that people tend to be very tough on themselves. Everyone watching, you know what I'm talking about. It's easy to be judgmental about this and to say, why is this so hard for me? It's hard for a lot of people, but it's not because of you. It's because of the environment we live in. So we really want to sort of tease this apart and almost sort of indoctrinate the idea into people's minds of, we're in a battle here, and we need to come up with a game plan to win this battle against the environment around us. I know that sounds maybe a little hyperbolic, but that is really what we're talking about here. So what have you found? What have you seen as you've walked through life? What are the tempting foods that have sort of undermined your efforts? Or you don't even have to have eaten them. You can just have observed them when looking at the calories. We see more calories posted now when you're out and about. That's the question. Go ahead, Kate.
Sure, and I have a lot to share. Just want to make sure that folks can hear us. Rick, can you turn up the volume?
Turn up the volume for, that's interesting. Turn up the volume for both of us? Or for you?
Yeah. Just so that you had a comment that I was a little bit hard to hear. So just want to make sure that folks can hear.
Okay. You're right in my ear, so I guess I'm not the best person to judge your volume, Kate.
Yeah.
So let me turn you up.
Maybe. Yeah.
Here we go. I think I'm maxing you out volume-wise here. I'm wondering, just give us some. Is
there a way you can turn it up for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it's just maybe that I'm shouting, Kate, and just relative to me, you sound quiet. I think you sound pretty good there.
Yeah, I think it's on your iPad.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're okay, but friends, just chime in if you're having a hard time hearing us, because I want to make sure that folks who are here tonight can hear us. Many people will watch after the fact. Want to make sure that you all can hear, you all can contribute. The food environment is brutal. There are times that I am just surprised by foods. I shared a funny story with you, Rick, but this is a couple months back, and my husband had to urgently leave the house to purchase toilet paper. We were low on toilet paper. And so he comes back about a half hour later with a platter of fettuccine Alfredo and no toilet paper. Now, I said to him, I'm a little confused, where's the toilet paper? He said, oh, the community store had run out, but they started offering prepared foods. And I didn't want to stop at another place for the toilet paper. I didn't want our dinner to get cold. So here we are with probably 3,000 plus calories of fettuccine Alfredo, no toilet paper.
Oh, God, that's great. The old toilet paper thing is an episode unto itself, but I love, I'm going out for toilet paper. And he comes back with fettuccine Alfredo. That's awesome. You just must have been like, how much do I say here?
Exactly.
That's great. All right,
the thought was there.
Yes, yeah, right. The initial intention was good. Again, we're asking, if you're watching, I need you to think about, when you've walked through life, what calorie bombs have you discovered? You didn't need to have eaten them. Maybe you dove into them. That's not the point here. No judgments. The point is more, we really want to talk about just how the environment has really gotten out of control in terms of food temptations. And one of the scarier things, Kate, is that it's been a gradual thing. I know, I started with HMR 30 years ago We started talking about this about 10 years in. So this has been a gradual thing where the environment has gotten worse and worse. And because it's gradually changing, people don't notice it. There are things that used to be extreme or outrageous that now people look at them and they don't even bat an eye because there are so many more extremes out there. So I'm wondering if people have any examples. We posted a thought starter beforehand. And I've got a few that I'd like to share, but I'd like to give the voice to people who are on here first. Has anyone posted anything, Kate, as it relates to what they've run into around crazy temptation foods?
I haven't seen any yet, but I know we will. Maybe you can start with the ones that we have already heard, and then I'll circle back to the ones that people update.
Sure, yeah, love it. So I'm gonna start with Jolly Roger. So again, we posted, what have you seen that sort of blew your mind? Jolly Roger, if you're here, let us know. I'm not sure if he posted that he is watching, but his whole point was that if you just eat at a fast food restaurant, it can provide, depending on what you order, of course, but a whole day, 2 days, 3 days worth of calories at a single meal. Well, I mean, I don't disagree with that. I would actually invoke, Kate, if you would permit, the Center for Disease Control actually did a study on this. So you don't even have to be extreme here to have the calories go higher than you thought. So I'm going to hold this up. I'm hoping that this is real clear. So the CDC looked at the average large-sized cheeseburger, French fries, and regular soda across the United States. And what they concluded was that the calories in a single meal, and for many people, Kate, probably lunch, 13 to 1,600 calories. Wow.
I believe it.
In a single meal. Yeah. So, Jolly Roger, you're on point with that observation. Again, typical, average. You know, when we're not poking fun at the extremes here yet, but we will. We're talking about simply just going out and doing what a lot of people do on a regular basis. And I would just say one other thing, Kate, if you're having meals that are, in excess of 1,000 calories, single meals, one meal, whatever your goals are, you're going to find them hard to achieve. You've got to figure out ways to have meals that have fewer than 1,000 calories.
Absolutely.
Kate, you should, unless there's someone who's posted an example of high-calorie tempting food, feel free to share that.
Yeah, we have a couple. Sandy shared, a Starbucks coffee might be 300 to 600 calories. Iris shared, candy, cake, ice cream, sugar, desserts, of course, everywhere. Always come up high on the list of foods that are most frequently consumed by Americans. Sharon shared a great example, too. Salads. Of course, we can make a good salad choice with lots of veggies with a low-calorie dressing, but salads could be 700 calories or more. But then a couple people also posted some nice strategies. Nancy, who I know was here last week, has actually found her favorite Starbucks drink that's 100 calories or less. So we already have some nice suggestions in the easy wins category for sure. Yeah,
good. So guys, remember, for those of you who are just joining, we're talking about how out of control today's food environment is. Temptations are everywhere. Those tempting foods have more calories than we often think, and sometimes a lot more than we think. So that's what we're talking about now. I would ask to be thinking about, but don't post yet, the successful strategies that you've discovered around how to better manage your calories. We absolutely want those. We need those. But let's put them all together towards the end, because, Kate, I think it might be a good idea to push people to take on some new behaviors for the next week. Including us, based on what we hear there.
I have to cut in for a moment because Valerie's is so good. They deep fry everything. We now have macaroni and cheese balls, rich in sausage balls, fry, and then she even put in parentheses, name the vegetable, which I think is so good. And then a little teaser, as I know you, my friend Rick, we have another Sharon who just wrote about Cheesecake Factory.
Yes, I saw that.
Her favorite dish, 1,500 calories.
Yep. Sharon, I saw that post, and I made a note here. I'm coming back to it because I have a story that actually Nancy is making me tell, just truth be told. about where I was sort of lambasted by more calories than I thought it would be. Okay, but first, we're going to come back to salads too, because Jennifer had a great comment that I'd like to share. But Kate, I would love for you to share. To me, this is one of the more recent, like, mind-blowing examples. You were in the grocery store. Could you just share with people your little epiphany about Ben and Jerry's?
Yeah, I was in the grocery store looking for my frozen cherries, which I love, and stumbled upon the ice cream section and came across the peanut butter cup, and it caught my eye. 360 calories for a half cup. Then I did some math. 1440 for the container. Now the container is not large.
No.
If I could even figure out a way to not eat the whole thing, I'm still 1,000 plus, snapping my fingers.
Absolutely. And with those containers, I don't know about anyone else, but when they're in the house, it's so easy to have a little. And hey, I just had a little, I'm doing good. But then you go back and have a little bit more. If you're just eating half of that, I'm going to take my hat off to you and give you that's still what, 700, over 700 calories? Astonishing. Those are not very big containers.
No.
Absolutely incredible. Okay, again, as I always say to Nancy, interrupt me. I want to hear from people more than I want to share stories myself. But if you have anyone who has offered one, otherwise I'd like to share Jennifer's post. So give me some feedback. Should I go ahead with that?
Yeah, just one more. Bob just spoke candidly. This is pretty common, having 10,000 calories of fast food meals a couple times a day back in the day. Easy to do, and there are drive-thrus and fast food restaurants everywhere.
Yeah. That's another part of this. I'm going to really hit on this point harder later, but can you imagine the idea? We already talked to Kate about how incredible it is that you can easily, without thinking, have well over 1,000 calories at a single meal. So Bob has just sort of talked about a whole day of 10,000. That is not as outrageous as it seems. When you're living in an out of control food culture where whatever the percentage is, 80%, 90% of the foods are very, very calorie dense and also engineered to make it hard to stop eating them once you start. It's easy to pull off a 3,000, a 4,000, a 5,000 calorie day. Easy. And that's our big point here. We want to really sort of reach out and have people sort of embrace on a fundamental level that it is the environment that's out of control here, not the people in it. People in it are acting actually pretty normally. All of us. Even when you have the big old blowout days, you're eating tasty food that you're enjoying. I mean, that's not abnormal. What's incredible is what has changed the culture in terms of the size of foods, the amount of calories per bite of foods, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay.
And wanted to just chime in quickly about, Susan made a really good point that this is a little bit depressing. Of course, Ben and Jerry's and Starbucks are so yummy, and we're not even that full sometimes when we eat them. And of course, that is the point, that a lot of these foods, the calories can come in so quickly, and yet we still want to eat more. But I wouldn't ever want a person watching to be thinking, I can only eat HMR foods for the rest of my life.
No.
I can never have something beyond that. But just that we want to know the consequences and always consider, is this going to be a part of my plan today? Or could this 1,000, 2,000 calorie episode just happen unexpectedly? That's what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah. Who was that? Who made that comment?
Susan H.
Yeah. I might put try on a little bit of a different spin on this, which is most people walk through life and their weight management is a mystery. They don't know why they weigh what they weigh. It doesn't make sense. It's unfair. It's just, how do I deal with this? You have no idea. Well, first of all, what we're doing here is we're putting a much clearer lens on what the problem is. When you can have a much greater lens of clarity around the problem, that puts you in a much more powerful position to develop solutions. So there's two parts to that. The first is we're talking calories. Some people think calories don't matter. Boy, good luck to them. I don't know how they're going to manage their weight if they're not operating with that sort of calculus. But then the second thing is, and this is a tough one for people to accept, it's an environmental issue, and if you can come up with strategies to better manage your calories in the unsupportive environment, and also, you mentioned HMR foods, Kate, strategies to get out of the environment periodically. just take a total break. You're going to have a whole another level of success around either weight loss or weight management. So it is a little discouraging that we live in this world, but it's also reality that we live in this world. So if that's the deck of cards that's around us, let's do the most with it by teasing it apart and being really specific and strategic about how we can manage calories better given the realities of the environment. So I don't know if that helps, Susan, but the idea is, and then one other perspective is that what's also discouraging for so many people is when they weigh way more than they want to and they have no idea what to do about it, and they're not operating with the appropriate steps. So there's a couple of different ways to maybe approach that. So Jennifer, by the way, Jennifer, I just want to give you a quick acknowledgement. You have a twice a week commitment at this point. You are with me and my weight loss group every Tuesday, and you're there every week without fail, but you're also here on Thursday nights. So boy, that just speaks to how committed you are. So how out of control is the environment? So Jennifer shared growing up, she always thought that you were doing good when you were ordering a salad at the salad bar. Depending on what you put on that lettuce, you can actually add up to a burger or whatever. When I finally started checking labels later in life, most foods didn't surprise me calorie-wise except for the ones that I thought were healthy due to the way they were advertised. And then I love this ending here. Rule of thumb, if it's got a commercial for it, it probably isn't the best choice, LOL. I don't know, Jennifer, you're disparaging all those great broccoli commercials and those fabulous cantaloupe commercials. Oh, wait, there are no broccoli or sorry, Jennifer, you're right. So, Kate, can I share a story? It relates to Jennifer and the salad. So one of my treats that I bring my kids to Texas Roadhouse once in a while, and I have figured out how to eat healthy there and relatively low calorie, or so I thought. So I always get the salmon, don't even look at the menu, get these extra sides of vegetables or whatnot. And then I get the salad, and my little indulgence is the honey mustard dressing. So, I feel, Kate, you know how it is. It's like, it could have been so much worse. I did great out at the restaurant. Did great. Don't even think about it. So I don't know what possessed me to look at, to search online the calories for the honey mustard dressing on my salad, 470 calories. And what particularly hurt there was that I had exercised that morning. I think it was 450 calories. So the dressing on my salad more than offset my physical activity for the day. So that was kind of rough. So
I had a similar situation. Sometimes it's a little bit dangerous to start researching and investigating. My 7-year-old went with a friend to Five Guys, and she came home and she was raving about the Oreo cookie shake. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna look online. 1,030 calories. Oh. She also had a cheeseburger and fries. Yeah. So my 7-year-old had a 2,000 plus calorie dinner.
Unbelievable. That is, and that's on top of the regular meal. How many people are thinking, sure, the shake or whatever the drink is, it has calories, but is anyone thinking it has over 1,000 calories? Well, that's quite a statement, Kate, a 7-year-old.
Yeah. And I kind of get a sense, too, that people go in there for the other things, and they just add that on. Like, no one is going in for just that. Yeah. Well, at some point, it will be, would you like an Oreo shake with that, ma'am? Exactly. It's like you're not even thinking about it. Oh, what the heck? Hey, you think that 1,000-calorie shake is, like, how much worse can it get, right? Well, I'm about to tell you how much worse it can get. So you had shared that with me. So I looked up some shakes here. And are you guys ready for this? I think if you're wondering how high the high-fat, candy-filled shakes can go, I think Baskin-Robbins has actually given us the answer. So take a look at this. I don't know if you can read that, Kate. Do you see the calories? It's a little hard to see. I'll need you to...
2,030 calories in the Baskin-Robbins Heath Bar Shake. Wow. Again, I don't know. People clearly aren't thinking, well, I'm on a diet. I'm having the Baskin-Robbins Heath Bar Shake. But how many people are really confronting This is over 2,000 calories. For some people, that's their calorie budget with nothing else in the entire day. Wow. Really, really something. Okay, so the question we're asking, we need a few more examples from our audience if we could. What have you seen in terms of mind-blowing, tempting foods with calories, if you looked at them, were much higher than you ever thought they might be? And again, it can be the everyday foods that aren't really astonishing, but when you looked at the calories, you're like, oh my goodness. Or it could be the outrageous examples. That Heath Bar shake is just a perfect example of that. So has anyone provided any from what they've seen in their lives yet, Kate?
Yeah, we have a lot of Sharons tonight, which is wonderful. We just heard from another Sharon that she would have Starbucks white chocolate mocha, 510 calories, just like that.
Yes.
So that was a good example.
Just coffee.
We heard another example. Yeah, just coffee. Let's see. A couple examples of just really high calorie salads, favorite dishes at 1,500. Just chicken salad, over 1,100. 54th Street Grill. Then just examples of, chips and popcorns. Shane suggesting, that's what you were saying before, Rick, with my Ben & Jerry's, that if I try to have a portion of it, I'm going to go back and have another bite and another bite. And I can totally see where Shane's coming from, where the things like the chips, it's at no point you even feel like you had a whole bag, but you've had a lot of bites where the hundreds and thousands of calories add up really quickly. Absolutely.
A special call out to Shane. So glad you're here. One of our regulars. Shane, maybe the regular. I'm so glad to have you here, Shane. Thanks for taking your time to be with us. I want to share a quick one, Kate, that speaks to how the calories, you could be walking intentionally through life and discover them. Wow, look at the calories on that menu. But sometimes they just catch you unawares. Like the last place you expect to be tempted by high-calorie food, and it happens more than you think. So one of our colleagues, Desiree, lives in Texas. She was just innocently doing her banking. And I think it was the early morning, and she had gone in, and she was using the, the tubes where you put the deposit in, and et cetera. What happens, the cylinder comes back, and in the cylinder is a fried cherry pie, somewhere around 400 calories. I mean, what universe are we living in where you're going to bank? You could have had a great morning. You could be doing everything that you could possibly be need to be doing to be managing your temptations, and you're banking, and you didn't even leave your car. And the cherry pie gets delivered in a tube to your car. Oh my God. It's just incredible. Incredible.
It is crazy.
I want to build on Jennifer's comment about things that can seem healthy. You put a health halo on something and it's like, well, it's healthy. So, you give yourself license to eat more than you might. Kate, you had shared with me that one of the restaurants that sort of touts itself as being particularly healthy is Panera Bread. Tell us a little bit about that experience at Panera Bread.
Yeah, well, I can blame it on the kids, always wanting to try some new places. So I went in and my son said, oh, I think I'll get the mac and cheese. And, basically the person held up two containers. Which one would you like? And the one that I then learned was the large. It actually didn't look big to me at all. He's 9.
Right.
So I said, oh, well, I'll get that one. So he had the mac and cheese and had a side of bread. And then, Rick, we get into the investigating. So I went ahead and grabbed a menu and quickly learned the large, which was not large, 1010, at over 1,000 calories with the bread 180. So 1,200 calories for that not large meal at all. In fact, he was hungry when we got home. A day on the Healthy Solutions diet.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. 1,200 calories, and your son came home and was hungry still.
He was hungry.
1,200 calories, just ballpark estimate, that is a full day on the Healthy Solutions diet. 3 blended shakes, 12 ounces apiece. That's 2/3 of a pound per shake. 2 HMR entrees, 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. It works out to be, if you just spitballing here, about 4.5 pounds of food. and it's
Yeah.
1,200 calories, and your son comes back and is still hungry after lunch. That's
What's
the
for
environment.
dinner?
Yeah. Oh,
We just had dinner.
yeah. Wow. Hey, real quick, I finally got my older iPad to start showing me the posts here. So,
I love it.
Iris, looking to hear from people outside of phase 1. How do you maintain or lose weight after phase 1? That's your question.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read the rest of it. Iris, go back in the video archives. We talked about phase 2 as an essential part of your long-term success in this program with your weight, with managing your health. Start there. I thought it was a rich discussion that one of my other fellow health coaches, Nancy, and I had. Many of the people who are commenting tonight are in phase 2 and actually had phenomenal contributions during that conversation. So Iris, look for the phase 2 Facebook Live event from 2-3 weeks past, something like that. Maybe someone who's monitoring the comments can be a little more precise with that.
And Rick, one other thing I'll just chime in. Hopefully you folks will continue to be with me and Rick this evening. But when we do get to the later part of our section, we're going to talk about easy wins, things that you can do to get in a lot of food for a few calories. And we'll share examples that are good for everyone, for our phase 1 participants, and also ones that would be specific for phase 2.
Yep, great. Be monitoring the comments. If anyone else has shared any sort of calorie bombs that blew them away, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
But I think this is the moment of truth for me personally, Kate. Nancy's very involved, and we discuss throughout the week what we want to cover on Facebook Lives. And when we talked about high-calorie temptations and more calories than we thought, Nancy, of course, said, well, Rick, of course you're going to tell them about the Cheesecake Factory experience in California. And I said, Nancy, I really wasn't going to, but Kate, I'm in sort of a unique position where I'm in your phase 2 class, so I'm accountable to you about my health habits. But I also have, you ready for this? I have Nancy, who's constantly providing me additional accountability. So Nancy, whether you're watching or not, you are constantly here with us. So I am going to just share this somewhat embarrassing experience, which just shows, HMR, 30 years I've been doing it. We're at the Cheesecake Factory, had a training in California. I remember Sue, who's watching right now. Sue, you were at the table when this happened. Nancy, Bob, me, and Sue.
John is watching.
Yeah, and John too. So the waiter, what do you guys do for work? And we tell him, and we don't tell him a lot, but as it happens with this area of work, people are very interested. Oh, you help people make lifestyle changes and lose weight. So he was very interested. So he was peppering us with questions the whole time. Very interested, health conscious guy. And so we had all ordered our meals and whatnot, and we try to practice what we preach. And then at the end of the dinner, I innocently said, so they didn't have the calories on the menu at the time. I said, what is the highest calorie dish that you guys serve? And he instantly got uncomfortable. And he said, I'm pretty sure you ordered it. And I thought, wait a minute. I ordered a simple pasta dish. I had broccoli in it, and it was chicken. The sauce, it wasn't marinara. So, okay, I concede that it wasn't like really low calorie, but the highest calorie dish on the menu. And it, in fact, was. The chicken was somewhat fried, and when the calories eventually came out, I think they still have that dish on the menu. It was well over 2,000 calories. But I was just astonished, Kate, because I know calories, but I was completely bamboozled there. And, I had the health halo of the broccoli. I had added extra broccoli, as John, who's watching, does too when he goes to the restaurants. And that was just really, I was thunderstruck by it. So anyway, thank you, Nancy, for making me tell that story to everybody. Appreciate it.
Love it.
The environment is, in fact, out of control. Okay, so any final examples from anyone before we sort of turn the page here and talk about...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think some of these examples, in line with a salad, folks thinking, Subway would be a safe place. Not necessarily. That was a great comment from Jennifer.
Yes.
Shane had mentioned, Texas Roadhouse, peanuts, free bread, a cactus blossom steak, loaded potato, literally in one sitting, 2 days worth of calories. It's just easy to do.
Yeah, easy. So obviously the point that we've been making here is that the environment that we live in today is, Susan, this is the reality of it. It is out of control. It's different than it was certainly 30 years ago, but it's different from 10 years ago. You might even be able to make a case that it's in the last 5 years it's gotten worse. So the environment's becoming less supportive, and we have to recognize that. Too many people, we've shared this before, again, the people think that people don't, weight loss is hard and weight management is difficult because people don't have enough willpower. Well, how many people want to lose weight these days, Kate? 70%, 80%? Is this really an epidemic of a loss of willpower? Or is this more an environmental issue where by knowing that, you can be better armed to address that? So that's our main point. I'd also just make one other point. Kate, we always laugh about all of these examples of the high-calorie food that just pops up everywhere. We have purposely tried to have some fun with this. We've purposely tried to have this, take sort of a lighthearted approach on this for a very simple reason, guys. And you don't need me to tell you this. Weight loss and long-term weight management is hard. It's challenging. It can feel like a real burden at times. So at HMR, we think it's important to periodically take a bit more of a lighthearted view of this, poke a little fun at it, just to create a little distance between us, you, and the difficulty of the task, which kind of was what Susan, I think, was alluding to earlier. A little humor can go a long way in terms of helping, make this just a little bit more manageable. So, speaking of humor, I will ask you to tell one last story, Kate. You decide, just in terms of unexpected high-calorie foods.
So many stand out to me. A couple weeks back, I had done a nice thing for a friend, but hadn't thought much of it. And then a package arrives in the mail. Hadn't ordered anything. Open it up. It is 50 mini cupcakes.
Can't make this up.
I take them out. just 50 cupcakes, because of course I need 50 cupcakes.
Yes.
Trying to think about how should I go about this. And my first thought was, it's Thursday. I want to have a good Friday. Maybe if I eat them all really quickly, I'm going to be helping myself tomorrow. Yeah. They won't be there tomorrow when I have to take on a better day. And of course, there are times that we're all human. I certainly eat things I don't want, but joking that I'm helping myself, I'm part of the solution. Eating them is, of course, I hope you guys all know, is not going to be doing me any favors.
Yeah,
so.
it makes no sense when we talk about it here in this space, but the idea of, well, if I eat them, at least they'll be gone. In the moment, it can sound like that's you are, in fact, part of the solution. It's just so easy to kid yourself like that, Kate. That's generous in terms of the honesty there. That's awesome. By the way, I have to ask, your friend knows you. When she bought 50 mini cupcakes for Kate, was she thinking, and now I know Kate's going to eat these? I mean, I would have not bought you that. I would have known that would have been a problem.
No, she'd probably think, well, Kate wouldn't want 25. She'd want 50.
Yeah, that's true too.
Oh, gosh.
All right, so the environment is out of control, not the people in it. By recognizing that this is an environmental issue, it really does put your hands a little bit more on the controls and the dials that influence your calorie management. So at this point, let's talk about some things. We want to end with some positive strategies that have supported people. So I would like people to think about what things have worked best for you. We're talking about food strategies. In an out-of-control food environment, there are ways to create filling, satisfying meals or snacks or both that work for you. So this is the part of the call or the conversation where we want to generate a list. And there's two asks here. The first is, if you've got anything that works for you, you need to share it. Others need to hear it. This is where they will get the ideas. But then the second ask is, as you're hearing ideas, you've already got your favorites. Are there things that you're hearing that you might want to write down and consider doing this next week as part of constantly pushing yourself, exploring your stretch zone to build a wider foundation of skills for better managing your calories in an out-of-control environment? That is really the double ask here. So Post what works. Kate and I have our examples here, but we want to hear from you as well. What have you figured out? Easy calorie wins to help you feel full and satisfied despite living in an out of control environment. Be nice if we could get 10 here, Kate. You know, literally 10 from people. So, guys, this is your time. Start typing. You're here because you're engaged. And you've been at this for varying amounts of times, but you have things that work for you. They could be HMR foods. They can be HMR foods with fruits and vegetables. What are your favorites? Or if you're in phase 2, they can be other things, lean proteins, measured grains. It could be any combination of the above. So I see Karen. Sure. Karen is sharing. She gets lots of recipes and ideas from the HMR Community Support Facebook group, which is what we're on right now. Very helpful. Yeah, lots of pictures posted every day in this group. It's just tremendous. Totally tremendous.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Kate.
Yeah, I was going to say, Susan, HMR shakes, they're so filling for so few calories. Susan, my friend, I have my shake on here right now. Totally agree with that statement. I can't think of many things that I can have that are as filling for as few calories.
Let me add real quick before we move off the shakes. Have you tried the dark sweet cherries? Again, doing this a lot of years, used a lot of different fruits. This is right now, my favorite fruit in the shakes, chocolate or vanilla. So just more flavor, more taste. Okay, we'll keep going here. Pepper our ideas.
Nancy's is a little bit humorous. Her 0-calorie dressing in contrast to your 400-calorie dressing that you came across. But yes, certainly just the hundreds of calories you can save that way.
Mm-hmm.
Water and veggies, certainly so low in calories.
Yep. Great.
We have other strategies here too.
Jennifer, if I could read Jennifer here has just I work with Jennifer closely, and she's really just entered into what I call like the next stage of accelerating her weight loss. It's been so impressive. So I think it's important to share what she's doing for those of you in phase 1, or if you're in phase 2 and want to get a little stint of weight loss. Doubling up helps a lot. A double cereal breakfast, a double entree lunch, a double shake dinner. Thank you for that. I'm a huge double fan. I don't do any single shakes, Kate. I don't know about you.
Wow.
They're all doubles. All of them. Yeah. Calories are low, way more food, gives me more time where I'm not even thinking about the temptations.
Yeah. Sherry has a great one too. Just her effective strategy is avoiding eating out. Just being at home, even at homes with friends and family, she's just avoiding the restaurant scene altogether.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Yep. Great. Oh, here we are. Sandy, love it. Shrimp and veggie kebabs grilled. There's a phase 2 recipe for you, Iris. And make no mistake about it, this is an ongoing process of discovery. You're going to hear ideas. Do not judge them until you've tried them. So, Sandy, thank you for that. I'm going to share. Kate, can I just share? Maybe you can look at the comments here. I want to share one of my phase 2 strategies. I did this the other night. I'm like, why don't I do this more often? I absolutely love this. So, many of you don't realize that I am a veggie burger expert here. So here we have the Morningstar veggie burgers, and in a peer-reviewed published study of one person, me, I compared these with Boca burgers. Feel free to disagree. This is the best tasting veggie burger, and I'm going to go to my grave thinking that. The Morningstar veggie burger is only 100 calories. So whatever you put it on, some people put it on lettuce, spinach leaf. Some people will go out and pick the lowest calorie whole wheat bread, which is good. You don't want to spend a ton of calories on bread. 100 calories on the veggie burger. Do you like tomato? A lot of people like tomatoes. Why skimp on the little 1/4-inch tomato? Give it a whole 3/4 inch. It's got virtually no calories, and it bulks up your sandwich. So you get the veggie burger. Mm-hmm. You've got the big wedge of tomato. I like the sea salt on top of it. 1/4 of an avocado sliced in. I'll put a little ketchup on it as well. And then, of course, the everything but the bagel seasoning, Kate. I put that on so many different things. And I'll put that up against any 1,000-calorie burger any day of the week. It's absolutely delicious, and every bite of it, you're reminded that it's healthy And it's just so enjoyable. So Morningstar Veggie Burger, with all due respect to you Boca Burger eaters, there's a phase 2 recipe for you, Iris.
Love it. And that's the nice thing about these recipes too, because I know, circling back to Susan's comment earlier, it can feel a little bit depressing that some of those really high foods are so delicious. But when I hear Rick, you talking about your veggie burger, your cherries, lots of these great posts too, like we actually love these foods.
That's right.
We don't feel like we're deprived by any means. I have a couple to share myself, Rick. My bag of braised cauliflower, looks like it picked up something. I just do the whole bag with all sorts of entrees. My can of diced tomatoes, I typically add with my frozen bag. And then I love my coffee, so I'll drink iced coffee from the supermarket. Get the very low-calorie one, or calorie-free, and just blend it with a chocolate or vanilla shake in the morning. A huge glass. So delicious.
Fantastic. Love it. A lot of good quick hits there. Someone, let me just pull this back up. Valerie, thank you. I love the spicy black bean burger. And of course, Valerie, I know you were talking about the Morningstar spicy black bean burger. Again, the greatest veggie burger line that exists out there. The black bean burger is only 130 calories. It's like an extra 30 calories. Who cares? And it's a totally different taste. And again, you layer that thing, create your sandwich, and enjoy it for very, very few calories. Totally awesome, Valerie. Love it, love it, love it. All right, so let me just see if there are any others that people have shared. Guys, no matter what we do, it's only going to be the tip of the iceberg. So you've got to just look at, you practice the strategies that work for you and keep practicing them. They insulate you from the out of control food environment that we spent most of the conversation here talking about. But you've got to have a beginner's mind about this. You've got to approach this with, there's a whole lot more to learn than what I already know. And when you do that, first of all, this whole work is way more interesting, number one. But number two, what you're able to learn is just so much more. Because if you're approaching this with, I already got it figured out, obviously there's a glass ceiling there. So what have you heard here? Again, I see more posts coming in. There's shrimp Creole with onions, bell peppers, garlic, celery, diced. Oh my goodness, fire roasted tomatoes. Sharon, you have come a long way. Boy, oh boy. Amazing. I remember talking to Sharon. She had all this trepidation about adding any fruits and veggies. Look at this. It sounds like a cooking show here, Sharon. Fantastic. So anyway, but the main point, again, is you got to keep pushing to try new and different things. And then you ask yourself, does that make my top 5 or my top 10? And if it does, then you do it again and again. And then it just becomes something that you do. And you're expanding your base of healthy, low-calorie foods. Again, I'm sort of making this point about phase 2, but it absolutely relates to phase 1 as well, Kate. You're trying to stay in the box. There's so much variety there as well.
Totally.
All right. So let's move into this. We've heard a lot of different ideas, and I think this is where the proverbial rubber meets the road, where we ask people, hopefully you've been getting some ideas. The idea is to come away from these conversations, first of all, feeling like their time's worthwhile spent. But equally important is, did you get any ideas? Did you get any strategies? Did you get any insights? Anything that you can apply this week to raise your game? Because in an out-of-control food environment, if you're not trying to raise your game every week, that environment is eventually going to win. You have to push against the tide if you're trying to not get swept out by the tide. So, what did you hear tonight that was useful? And are you willing to take on, let's say it, Kate, the accountability spotlight? Is there anything that you're going to do differently this week as a function of having spent the time with us here, having this conversation, that you'd be willing to post in the comment section? I'm going to do X, or I'm going to do Y. That's playing big time accountability by sharing it with the community here. And then if you do that, next week we will follow up with you. And whether you did it or not, there's always something to learn. But taking on the accountability, choosing to be accountable is a huge part. It's actually an efficiency to actually following through on what you said you were going to do, as opposed to leaving it to your own devices. So, is there anything that people have heard from the conversation tonight that you want to take on? Anyone want to be under the accountability spotlight for this next week? I'm going to give people a minute to think. Actually, Kate, you had shared that you might take on something this week. You're playing with the big boys here. Let's hear it. What are you going to do this week that what you wouldn't be doing if you hadn't had this whole conversation tonight?
Totally. I've heard a lot of suggestions around doubles, double shakes, double cereals. Sharon just wrote double shake with PB2. I've been doing some singles, and I think there's times that a double would really help me. So I think that's a great plan. I love it. I like the reminder of veggie burgers. I happen to have both I don't know if you'd call yours the original. I also have black beans, so that was also a nice reminder too on phase 2. So I'd love to take on those strategies, the double shake and the veggie burger this week.
I love it. Yeah. Again, I don't want to get off of this before we finish here. Is there anything anyone want, even if it was just one person, to sort of really step in with both feet here? Is there something that you want to do this week that is outside your comfort zone? So it's something you wouldn't normally be doing, but as part of this ongoing process of learning and discovery, you're willing to sort of take on something in your stretch zone. So let's just see if anyone's willing to do it here, Kate.
Yeah. Let's see. Cheryl wrote that she already made the risotto cereal latkes, the risotto with HMR cereal. For folks who haven't had a chance to try that yet, she's going to try lentil cereal patties, which is wonderful. Love that. Trying something new. Jennifer said she's going to get out the air fryer and look at recipes for veggies. Fantastic.
Great.
Kim is going to do some tracking the bites. I'm not sure, Kim, if you were referring to the bites outside of your HMR foods and fruits and vegetables, just to hold yourself accountable there.
Probably.
These are really great strategies, challenges.
Love it. I'm trying to think. I've taken on the very public 12 veggie fruit blast plan several weeks with our dear friend Nancy here. Hey, Kate, why don't you
did a 6-shake day too, Rick.
Oh, I did do that too. That's right. Yes, I actually, and that one has been a game changer for me with just doing so much yard work these days. Doing the shakes, as I've shared with you, Kate, during the shakes during the yard work, it's almost the perfect food because it's been hot here, and I could bring them out in the yard. It's been just tremendous. So, Kate, why don't I go out on the skinny branches and coach me up? Why don't you give me a blast plan or a stretch zone plan, something for me that you know is outside my comfort zone that I might not normally do, and I will choose to be under the accountability spotlight this week.
Yeah.
I'll give it my best shot.
I'd be curious to hear about would be a 10 veggie day.
Ooh.
10 veggies.
Ooh.
I saw your meal that you prepared with your salmon and all your veggies, and I think I think we can pull it off.
Wow. The first thought in my head was, all those fruit servings in my shakes are not going to count. All right.
But you should do that. You should do that. I'm just curious.
No, I like this. This feels super different, and I'm all over it. That's great. 10 veggies, and you know what's going to happen here, Kate. Whether I make it to exactly 10 or not, there's something I'm going to learn from being engaged in that process. So love it. Love it, love it, love it.
We have a couple other folks chiming in with some challenges too. Sharon's going to try a veggie burger with cauliflower rice. What a delicious meal. Nancy's going to also look for frozen cherries and veggie burgers. A couple folks looking for some in-the-box strategies too. Putting veggies in the shakes, that's a nice suggestion too. Spinach, kale, cauliflower, you name it. This is really great. Karen shared a push just around getting in her 24 ounces of water or fluids daily, and she wants to report back to us next week. I know that's a challenging area for many of us.
Yeah. Hey, Sharon just posted, I've never had a veggie burger or cauliflower rice. Oh my goodness. So Kate, you just waxed poetic about cauliflower rice. I just basically, swooned here about the garden veggies.
Yep.
Sharon, 100 calories, so much flavor. It doesn't have to be with bread. It doesn't. You can use it broken up with your veggies. Season it the way you want, or do the rice cauliflower. Sharon, I'm putting you under the accountability spotlight this week. Take on one of those.
My bag, which is 3 cups, 25 calories a cup, 75 calories. So if you did like my bag with your veggie burger, you have a meal for under 200 calories. Crazy.
Insane. And again, so much flavor. Awesome. Love it. Okay. All right, we're going to wrap it here. Kate, I think that we sort of covered what we wanted to cover.
Sure.
We wanted to, of course, I'll just repeat myself one more time, just sort of maybe stating the obvious for some people, but for some people it's not very obvious, which is as hard as this is to lose weight and manage a lower body weight for individually, when you think about your own struggles in this area, this really is an environmental, cultural issue. Okay, so let's take which are so natural to have. Let's just put those away as much as you can. The environment is out of control, not you, not the people in it. That's number one. Recognizing that this is a calorie issue, and it's a matter of coming up with strategies that help you feel full and satisfied, that are low calorie, help you get out of the out of control environment, which is a big part of this, and also better manage your calories when you're stuck in the environment. All of those skills help with that. So that was our point here. Thank you for those of you who took on the additional accountability of the spotlight. We'll be following up next week. Can't tell you how great it is to have all of you joining us here. We hope to see all of you here next week as well. Kate, what would you add?
Yeah, Rick, we always ask folks to chime in, reach out to us if there's a certain area that you feel like you need added support or accountability around. No doubt other folks in our extended community and family would benefit too. So connect with us, and we really appreciate you joining us. Wishing everyone a healthy week.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, guys. Have a great week. Take care.
Bye.